all you have to do is be human. So instead of sending this long text, I'm selling this, I'm doing that, no one cares what you do, because it's not about you, it's about them.
Basically, I think that the method that you have told us, and if people are able to implement it right, they can make a lot of money through LinkedIn. This is just a tool that can help you create content so that you can post it yourself. I think this is the point for our listeners, that if you have heard all of these 3 points that he has given to us, rewind and take some notes, because these were the most important things that I really wanted people to know. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Genie Talks Show. I'm your host, Bilal Asif, and today we are going to have a different kind of episode. Mostly in our episode, what we do is we discuss about how to succeed on LinkedIn by adapting social selling approaches. But in today's episode, we're going to be discussing some cold selling methods. And by the end of this episode, what I intend for you to have is a complete and actionable roadmap which you can apply in your business as a LinkedIn sales strategy. Uh, the bright mind that we have today with us is Troy Hipolito. Troy is a very successful sales LinkedIn coach, and Troy, hello, he has built a bulletproof multi-channel sales strategy which he teaches to his mentees, that leads them to actually acquire a consistent stream of clients, helping them earn up to $10,000 worth of revenue. Troy is also a founder of a SaaS startup named SKOOP, which is a LinkedIn instant video messaging software. Troy, welcome to the show. First of all, how are you doing today?
Good. You made me sound better than I would make myself sound. So thank you. Thank you for the introductions there.
No problem. Thank you so much for being on the show. So let's kick this off. Troy, first of all, I'd like to ask you that if you can let us know, how did you start your professional journey, and what actually led you to become a LinkedIn sales coach?
Yeah, so I don't know if I'm a sales coach. I can tell you this much. I have an IT background, which is opposite. And so we're mostly introverted. And so back in the day, I had a company called ISO Interactive. It was a gamification company. And we were getting all these interesting projects from Fortune 500 companies through the agencies, of course, and then a lot of startups when I was in Atlanta. But then it all crashed because the large companies were corporate and they start cannibalizing the teams. And so the remaining teams that I was getting work from blocked our team because our work was a little different from what they're used to doing. And they didn't want to share, they were fighting over the same pennies, so to speak. And so we had to find work. So we jumped on LinkedIn as a need. And we quickly found out that it really didn't matter how good our portfolio was. They had to like you. And so I quickly found out that in real life, I was a terrible dater. So in real life, if I would find someone, I would just go for it. And that was my personality, which is totally wrong. So we had to learn how to old-fashioned date. So just to get to know the person, understand the surroundings, support where we can. So we were really good at systems, and we applied the old-fashioned dating techniques to business, and it worked really well, and we're able to bring in clients. So through providing value, having a level of consistency, and even having team members, you can have multiple channels that actually bring in a lot of work. So
Got it.
hopefully that
Got
makes
it.
sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. So, what exactly the analogy that you use, that you use some old-fashioned dating techniques? So, what were those about? Can you let us know about a little bit about that?
Yeah. So in order to have some, I don't even believe in selling. I believe in the other person buying. So it's a different mindset. So if I'm selling you something and it's probably, I'm not a good salesperson. So you have to create an environment where they want to buy. And so, and you do that through your channels. So for example, if you are meeting someone and you're talking, you of course you tell them what you do, and they tell them, they tell you what they do. But usually in that conversation, they also express their pain. They express what is not working well, And if it's within my wheelhouse, I will, I'll just tell them, I said, you know what? If you do A, B, and C, this may lower your pain or solve your problem. And a lot of times it's not within my wheelhouse. That's why you have to network. I said, look, I can't solve, for example, I do multi-systems, multi-channel systems. I know email pretty well, but I am not an email expert. So a lot of times someone will say, well, we had deliverability issues for this, this, and this, and this. And it could be part of the writing, it could be your damaged domain, that sort of thing. Maybe you're not using, mirror domains to protect your email and all these sort of things, or you're not setting it up right or whatever, right? And I could say, well, these are usually the issues, but I don't solve those issues. But this sounds like it's in this realm, but I know an email expert. Can I run an introduction to him and you two can solve the problem? I don't really care if I make money or not, because if I refer it to my email guy that can really fix it, he's going to refer stuff to me. So everything is relationship based. So if I can provide value to someone and it's not what I think is valuable. So if you're a sales guy, you're going to think, selling my stuff is valuable. But that's not the case. What's valuable is what's perceived to be valuable to them. And it's usually about listening. It's usually like providing some kind of value or solving some issue that they have, regardless if you get paid or not. So when you help someone, helping, without charging, there's only one of three things can happen. So they look at it and they solve the problem because of your help, and they'll never talk bad about you. Maybe they don't have the money to work with you. You solve the problem, and they look to the left and look to the right. And if they are in business, they probably have 20 other problems that they want to pay you for. So they'll hire you. The third is if they don't have the budget and they really like you, you can pull a favor. And that favor is usually do you know someone that needs this? Anyone that recommends you, you have a much higher probability of obtaining that work. So if you toot your own horn saying, I'm so great, people don't really listen. But if someone else that they believe, says Troy is really great, or this person's really great, they listen to them and you convert. So sales comes to you in that respect. So when you're engaging with people, only come with value and value to the right audience. So you can help the wrong person too. So you have to understand who the audience is and how to do certain things, and understand not just the trends but what makes sense. For example, I've had a monthly service, and I fired a lot of my clients because I was attracting the wrong clients at one point. And it was the people who are really desperate. They need major change in 30 days, or they get frustrated and moved on. Well, when you have a client acquisition system, it's not a 30-day thing. You want to set up yourself for success for the whole year. And so what we do is we help within the 90 days. We teach them, we build these systems, we train their teams how to use it, and we make sure the licenses for any of the software stuff works out for the whole year. So even if they would end up being mad at you, they would make a lot of money by the end of that term, because consistency of good systems that constantly provide value is something that's going to drive in revenue.
Right. So basically, what I've understood is that the core thing behind this entire, the way you have said it is that you need to actually be liked by the person, right? That's what how you
Yeah,
basically put things in.
there's three words that's people hear all the time: know, like, and trust. Right.
Mm-hmm. No, like and
So
trust.
people get to know. So most of the clients will never comment on my post because they look at the post, they think about it. 3 months later, 6 months later, they say, "Oh, I think I want to buy from this person." You know what I mean? So you don't really know who your customer is all the time, but you have to. I'm putting out good content, how to fix this, make them think about this particular problem, how to solve it, giving them solutions on a normal basis. So they're all
Mhm.
I'm always out there. So that's one channel, is your content. Another is maybe your podcast. That's a channel as well. I have a LinkedIn live show. I have one, this Friday, and I usually have, three to 600 people register. So that's opportunity for people who's interested in whatever problem I solve. You know,
Mm.
um, Reaching out on DMs is another channel. Email several channels. For example, if you have a LinkedIn live, you have all the people register, you have the people commenting, and you can reach back out to them, based on those conversations. You can DM those individuals, you can email them, add to your email list. There's a lot of opportunity. And even a longer format, LinkedIn Live, say 30 minutes or an hour, you have the option to create content around that. You can run it through software and create 5 or 10 pieces of content. So you're creating a plethora of channels, and a lot of those things are valuable for other people, because most people want to understand how to get from point A to point B. And in between is an obstacle. And your job is to, how do I remove that obstacle for them to allow them to do what they need to get done, regardless of the business?
Got it. So basically, the way I've understood LinkedIn, as per my humble experience, right? So there are two actually ways to get success on LinkedIn, right? One is the
Hmm.
social selling method, in which like you've said, that people create content and create work on their personal brand to attract clients, and then the cold selling method, which your sales strategy is. So, I'm just wondering that the strategy that you teach, does that have the element of social selling aspect as well, or is it totally focused on the cold selling approach, or is it a mix or match of both?
Yeah, it is a blend. So we don't put all your eggs in one basket. So there's 20 different channels you can use, right? Whether they're LinkedIn or email or whatever. So the first thing you have to figure out is, who is my ICP, my ideal client profile. And then once you figure who is that ideal person, where are they at? So if those individuals, I don't know, I'll give this an example. If it's a Fortune 500 company, that decision maker will not reply on LinkedIn. They use LinkedIn in reverse. They check you out, for vetting purposes. So if you're going to try to do a DM or a direct message campaign to them, that's useless for that type of audience. So you have to know where they're at, whether it's in-person networking, whether it's they're part of a networking group online, whether they're reply to email, whether the best person is to reach out to their second in command that takes care of some of those things. If you have value to them, how to catch their attention and how to keep their attention. So the systems are about having several systems that are applied well, and that way you have multiple streams of conversations. Even your LinkedIn profile, I get about, I don't know, 2,000, a little less than 2,000 views a week on my LinkedIn profile. People don't realize that your LinkedIn profile is a channel. It's a channel, and it's a two-way channel. And so people look at you, and then you can see who looked at your profile. You just think about that one thing. Why are they looking at my profile? You know, Another thing too is, I'll get a lot of competition to look at my profile, but then I'll reach back out to them, because I don't believe in competition. I believe in collaborative conversations. For example, the SKOOP software that you mentioned, we created that software to solve a problem. So the biggest problem is, people do not personalize their conversations. They use a bot, or they have templated messages and all that. And sometimes, in some cases, it's okay to have some kind of sequence or email drip sequence or whatever. But if you really want to turn it up, you have to realize that people want to talk to people. And so if you personalize the interaction, you have a much higher conversion rate. And so you can mix it up, where you personalize some of it and the rest of it has some kind of automation. And again, um, don't send stuff out that sells. send stuff out that communicates and creates a relationship. By doing that, if they have a problem in that area of your expertise, they'll end up coming to you because they like you, you know. And how do you think they can like you if they don't know you? And how do you think they can trust you? So a good litmus test for business is that if that individual would say, "Hey, let's go have a drink at this high-end bar." And you got to think about that. In order to, and not physically, but if they wanted to, because we live in a digital age where I'm in Las Vegas, Nevada, and I was from Atlanta. I just can't meet someone for a drink in Atlanta, right? So it's kind of ridiculous for me to fly over there for a drink. But if they would want to do that, or even if they were local, then it would apply. You have to realize that, okay, in order to accept this person to go out, that person might maybe want to pay for the drink. So he has to put money into it. He has to put time into it. He has to drive to the place to do that. And then once they talk, people give out information that's a little private, whether it's personal or has something to do with their business. And you got to think about that. For them to tell you something private, that means they trust you. So that's the litmus test. And so if you're in that zone, they're going to want to talk to Troy Hipolito before they want to talk to Johnny Appleseed, and that's where you want to be, because 80% of the purchasing decisions is really if they like you. That's it. It sounds crazy, but your services and products may or may not be better than someone else's. That's just a check mark. Of course, our systems are really good because we homed it out through the years. We know what works. We know what kind of volume you need, and we know what kind of personalization you need, and we back it up with value. And so if you can wrap it around your head as what's valuable first, then you can build the systems on top of that.
Got it. So these systems that you're talking about, I think these are in your 90 days LinkedIn client acquisition playbook, right?
Oh, yeah.
Is that
Mhm.
so? Can you share a little bit about it? That how did you come about it actually?
Oh, yeah. So I had a lot of interviews with successful agencies. Some of it was trial and error, and some of it was trends. And what works now might not work in 6 months. You know what I mean? And so you have to go back to the value portion, and then how can I personalize the important pieces? Also realize that people think they can do everything themselves. Well, you can, but then you can't run a business. So these systems have to be set up in a way where they pull enough volume and they generate enough interest, right? So a content plan, for example, if you do a multi-channel marketing system, content is usually one of those. So I post content, 4 or 5 times a week. It's nothing crazy, but my content's pretty good. Sometimes it's a PDF, sometimes it's a poll, sometimes it's a video, and they all kind of lead them in a certain direction over time. And then I also have a LinkedIn newsletter, so I don't have too many, like 4 or 5 or 6,000 on the newsletter or whatever. And then I have an email newsletter, you know, I have a monthly event that I can draw information. So those 3, 4, 5 channels, you can stack them. Now, technology wise, SKOOP is part of it, where we say, hey, well, once we have these systems, SKOOP for the personalization, and then we have something called Sales Focus for some of the other systems, for email and in outreach and that sort of thing. And we have to do things like, hey, let's make sure that the email, for example, the email campaign that goes out makes sense. And so those things have to be set up correctly, technically, and then thoughtfully. So technically are things like make sure these you don't use your emails for this, because if you're sending out emails, regardless, you're going to degrade your reputation for your email, and you don't want to do that. So you have to purchase new domains. You have to use what we call mirror emails. You have to warm them up. You have to set them up properly. And then how do you create the actual emails? Well, we make sure the first email is short enough to understand. It has no links. And what's a good second and third email? Well, our second email is a little video we put inside there. So it's visual, it's impactful. We keep it very short. The third is a thank you. And then we have a little video this way, a little personalized video that's that way, and just telling them thank you very much, for the time, and you move on. And so that is a email type campaign. But on LinkedIn may be a little bit different. You may want to use Sales Navigator to connect with that person. And then you want to reduce the search, because if I am searching for a certain person, even within that search, sometimes the searches are too large. So it's more like a shotgun blast, but you want to be more surgical. And so you use the tools to the best of ability to reduce that search down. So you use things like the search for the Boolean and saying, oh, this is generally the right audience that I want to reach out to, but I don't want to reach out to this person or that kind of person because they don't really fit in my model. And you use the Boolean search to take those not this and that to actually reduce it down. They said, well, I don't want to send a message that's not on LinkedIn very often. Well, there's a filter for that. If they haven't posted, then they're less likely to be, on it, And so you create campaigns around that. If you back up even, the first thing, and I should have mentioned this, is your profile. So if your profile is not aligned, they may not even connect with you. So everything is a kind of a domino, set of dominoes. And your first one is, if you get your profile right and you're able to speak to your ICP, your ideal client profile, then the searches are much easier. So you have to be laid up from a good foundation. So on my profile, is it interesting? If I send a connection request, there's a 50% chance they'll look at my profile. Do they want to connect with me? What's my percentage of conversion to an actual acceptance of a connection? Can I do something prior to sending a connection? There's all these sorts of things that can be done. So I'll give you one little trick. If you want to connect with someone on LinkedIn and they're posting actively, right? And you say, oh, I have a 40% acceptance rate. Well, I have like a 60%, but just pretend I have a 40% acceptance rate, right? And I want to increase that 40%, and I want to talk to this person. And there's a certain people I want to talk to every week. But the first thing is I want to connect with them. But maybe it's not the first thing. Maybe I can go on their content and engage with them, have a conversation on its content prior. Maybe I want to do that twice and then wait a week. And the following week, I send a connection request. And in this connection request, I say, hey, John, I really enjoyed your post about A, B, and C. I appreciate the conversation. Always open to connect if it makes sense. You just moved your whatever percentage you had from your 40 all the way to 90%. And so that's because you took the human time to engage. So you're engaging a person, and what people appreciate that. I'll give you one other tip. If you want to increase your rates of vetted booked meetings, everyone's in business, right? In some form or another. And part of that business is networking. And you don't want tire kickers all the time with filling your calendar. So one thing that I do that's increased my conversion rate from 3% on a single step, not the whole system, on a single step, to 20%. So I'm converting 3% to a vetted booked meeting to 20%. It's a huge jump. That's 6 times better. All you have to do is be human. So instead of sending this long text, I'm selling this, I'm doing that, no one cares what you do, because it's not about you, it's about them. It's about them first. So what you should do is, even if you have some kind of system on the back end, spread it out. where you have no messages sending out for, say, 6 days or whatever. Wait a day and then send them a message, and it'll have 3 lines, 3 sentences. And it should say, thank you for connecting. John, thank you for connecting. I really appreciate it. I see you're doing A, B, and C, and say something about them. And then do a video. We use SKOOP or whatever to do a candid video, 20 seconds, 40 seconds, 60 seconds, something like that. And just say, thank you for connecting. I really appreciate it. And look at their profile or the title when you're doing that. Talk about them. I usually say, I don't even know what I can do for you. I said, but I do have a very good network. John, if you had a moment, and only if you had time, take a look at my LinkedIn profile. And if you see any dots to connect there, feel free to send me your booking link, and I will schedule time on your link. I'm always open for a conversation. Thank you very much. Have an awesome day, and hopefully we'll talk soon if you want. And that does it. And what happens is that psychological conversation is like, I'm not selling anything. I do have an ask. The ask would look at my profile, but the ask is equal to the current relationship. What is the current relationship? We just connected. I took the time to create a video for them. It wasn't polished. It was human. I'm talking to them about them. And they said, and if they're interested, okay, I'll look at his profile. And I think I want to talk to him. I don't want to talk to him. So they just self-qualified. And if they don't want to talk to you, they probably wouldn't be a good client anyway. And so people have to really think that, why do I have to push something on someone push something like a product on someone that they don't need? And so, especially high value stuff, low value stuff, it's a little easier. Like SKOOP, you could create a campaign that just says, hey, I created this software. I was wondering if you can try it. It's free. Here's a code. You can use it free. That's okay, because it's not a big ask, especially if I'm reaching out to other LinkedIn people that communicate all the time. They may be interested, but that's much different than building a conversation around a high value offer. So if you have like a $5 or $10 or $15,000, they have to invest into whatever that offer you have. They got to really like you. They really have to know you. You think someone's going to say, here's 15K. I don't really know you, but it sounds cool, whatever. I mean, I don't know if you're uber rich, but if you're a business, you just don't do that. And how much is an IT project? What's a really good, website development? I don't know, $4,000 or $5,000 for a simple website, for a specialty app, up to $1 million. You think someone say, oh, he's the guy, let's just do it. No recommendations? No. You have to build that rapport, through these different steps of the system. So hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah,
Not
it
sure if
does.
it does.
No, it does. So, but how do you wrap this whole thing around in 90 days? Why do you declare 90 days for it specifically, that strategy that you have?
Oh, that's a good question. 90 days is 13 weeks.
Hmm.
13 weeks is where you can make a major impact in your business. It's short enough. No, it's long enough. Excuse me. It's long enough where you can make a major impact in your business, and it's short enough where you don't get derailed.
Got it.
So when
Got
people have, oh yeah, I got my 5-year business plan, I don't even know why people do that because
it.
there's so many things can happen in
Right.
those 5 years. So the
Got it.
90 days gets you moving, get you started, and help you gain traction and help you gain revenue. So
So
that's so that's but our 90-day our 90-day program is actually a year. So we do the hard work in the 90 days, and then we keep the systems running for an
okay,
entire year. So you
got it.
need some runway, and that's why we do it, and we price it the way we do, because let's just say people are they base it on their emotions, right? we're emotional creatures. Even though we think we're logical, we do things because we like something or we don't like it or whatever. And sometimes you might have a client that's mad, but if you have the system working for a year, they won't be mad for very long. They may not. They'll get their money back by many times. And they'll produce a business, and they'll it makes more sense to have some more runway.
Got it. So let's say that, since on your profile you talk about, having the stream of three to I think $10,000 per month. So let's say someone wants to acquire clients using LinkedIn and start earning $10,000 per month revenue. What would be the process like? How should they begin?
Yeah, so actually there's a couple of jumps here. So when you're starting out, you usually make 3 or 4 or 5,000. You want to move that 3 to 10. And then you want to move that 10 to 30, right?
Hmm.
So here, a good revenue stream for a solopreneur or a small business, you usually want to make around 25, 30,000 to start, and that gets you the traction that you need. And what was the other part of your question?
That how should they begin the process, like, if they want to earn that, $10,000 per month
Mhm.
revenue, if they want to hit their mark, so how should they begin the process?
Well, first of all, have a service that people need, and then they need and want. And then create a structure around providing guidance around that. And so usually a big problem has a lot of compound solutions, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so how can I reduce that person's pain? So we have a big problem, but I don't know you very well, Troy. So we're just talking about it. And I say there's a couple of things you can do. Here's a system you can use, and here's a daily process to help them organize. So, as a person selling these services, you have to provide certain services for free to gain trust. And so you create a structure of a tiered structure of free, low cost, and then your high end deal. And that way you can deal with the potential client in a way to build trust. So my low end deal is SKOOP. It's super cheap. It's
Mm-hmm.
like $47 a month. It's a software. My free stuff is simple consultation, and then if they want paid consultation, I can. If they want me to build a system, what they want our team to help their team build a system, we'll build that client acquisition system with them. You know, and so that's where they would start is providing value. The other thing is really straightening up your LinkedIn profile and your profiles of your other people that are working with you. So it has to be absolutely clear on what you're doing. It has to be one thing. So I do a couple things, but if you look at my profile, you'll never know. I mentioned SKOOP on it, but you'll never see a lot of SKOOP stuff on my personal profile. I'm all about the client acquisition system, but internally, those three things that I do are tied to the hip. It's just too hard to explain. So it has to be very simple to the audience. So you have to be very clear. And then you have to determine where your audience is. And once you can figure that out, you can target, providing value on those particular channels. So usually, some of it's, could be text, but text is done in a very particular way, and very certain circumstances. Some of them can be direct messages for connection campaigns. Some of them can be DMs for people that you already know and you're already connected. Some can be in-mail. In-mail is used quite often to boost events, and then others are event related. You know, and then on events you can increase things like gaining emails for your email blast. And so some of your cold emails, if you do that strategy, can go in multiple directions and increase volume as well. And then you want to tie those things together with the CRM. So there's a lot of different again, I go under the hood and I show people how those systems work.
Mm-hmm.
More than likely, they don't want to do it. If they
Mm-hmm.
do, then they're very, most business owners are not super technically savvy. They're not,
Mm-hmm.
because they're running a business and a solution. They're not dealing with all the tech and what works, what doesn't. All they know is that they have a solution that fixes this problem, And so that's how I would work with a potential, client to build the system. We start from understanding of what they do, why is it value, how to present it value on different levels, and then how to arrange that where it's very appetizing for someone. Just, oh yeah, I want that. For example, my event on Friday, I'm giving away a LinkedIn daily business process guide. So we talk about how can you get a lot of work done in a little bit of time, because at the end of the day, you have a business to run, and you can't be monkeying around aimlessly over here, over there. You have to kind of tighten it up so you can get what you need to get done, provide value, and get out, you know, in order to run your business, of course.
Okay, so basically, the question was that, since you teach a lot of people about these about the strategy, and I wanted to ask you was that, to get up to that $10,000 per month mark, right? When you teach people about this, what are the top mistakes that these people make?
Oh yeah, that's a good question as well. Most people don't want to take the time to solve a problem. They just want to sell their services. That's the wrong kind of client. So if you're out there and you don't want to, provide any what they perceive as value, not what you do, you're at a major disadvantage, you know. And so they don't want to get to know you. They just want to sell you your stuff, right? Well, someone has to warm them up. Someone has to have them, all that stuff, your content creation, all that. They have to like you at a certain point. So usually that's the biggest mistake. They just don't care about the customer. So the type of person that's very successful is the one that wants to really solve a problem and not sell a product.
Got it. So basically, I think that the method that you have told us, and if people are able to implement it right, they can make a lot of money through LinkedIn, right? So do you have
Oh
any
yeah.
do you have any interesting example that you can share with us? A interesting case study, a story.
Yeah, yeah. So there's a lot. I have a document that has like 50 case studies and stuff on it. Let me pick one. Yes, I moved someone from 3,000 to 30,000 within 45 days. And it just started with his profile and a day-to-day process and some business advice. And it wasn't really about, partially systems, yes, but he had some fundamental things in his business where it was absorbing a lot of his time. And some of these repeatable processes or logistical things can be changed over. If it's a repeatable process, you can create something like an SOP, a service operating procedure, basically a training manual. And
Mhm.
you need to take that off of your shoulders, where, he had some logistical stuff where he was doing very customized marketing, where he was sending gifts that were very specialized for that individual. Very, very interesting niche business, but was really good for high value type stuff. And it was another marketing channel, and he did very good in that area. There's a lot of others too, but um, it's really about getting the right system, having the right tone, and providing like the right value consistently.
Right.
And that's the only reason you have to think about it. Why does someone want to work with you versus someone else? You know, they have a sense of familiarity with you. You have a consistent positive, client flow. You have proof in the pudding documents that, and videos and all these people that are praising you on the thing, and they have this problem and they need someone to fix it. LinkedIn has close to 1 billion people on it, like literally. 1 billion members. And I want to say, and I could be wrong, but I think it was 16.5% of those people are active daily on LinkedIn. And so it's a huge market. And I don't think that people should think about competition. They should think about collaboration, because nowadays you have to partner up, so you have to have a collaborative environment in order to be successful. So when I set up systems, it's not all me. I have a team of people, and you have people that are very smart, but there's only 40 hours in a day. So you have to team up with people, and develop a good network, because those people are the ones going to refer you to. So you have stuff that comes in through your system. You got stuff that radiates out to your system, and you got people that recommend you. And if everything is in alignment, however they look at you, it's a much more positive light. For example, if I had a terrible LinkedIn profile, and they looked at me and so said, Troy's really good. And I said, yeah, you told me he was really good, but I looked at his profile. It's kind of awful. It doesn't align. So as long as you're in alignment, and then you're developing those systems that are consistent, conversion becomes a much easier thing. For example, in my program, I don't try to sell a lot, because it's a lot of work. I mean, it's a lot of we have meetings, we have technology stuff, we have approvals. I don't want to take on any client. I only want to take on a client that I see that be successful, and that means 2 to 3 clients a month. That's it, because I have IT projects coming in. I also have the SKOOP stuff. We're talking to resellers and partners and individuals, and hand-to-hand combat type stuff. We got a lot going on. So you don't want to take on work that you can't do as well. And so you set a system up, and in the flow is just right, then you'll do very well, especially in the small to medium-sized business.
Got it. So a lot of these, people who do, get on to, try to get clients from LinkedIn, they start to, use automation tools, and some of these automation tools actually have AI capabilities to, make the outreach more personalized. So what are
Mm-hmm.
your recommendations? Should they be used, or should they be not used at all? So what's your take on that?
We're at the verge now where some of those tools would do well. And so some of the AI tools are good for helping with appointment settings. And LinkedIn limits you on volume. So if you had multiple accounts and stuff like that, not you personally, but if your team, you had their account, you get much more, much more volume. But you have to be very careful, because there's very few companies that have an AI that it's very fluid, and so you have to be careful about that. So I don't know. I would say 6 months. I would probably say something different, because it's at the verge. So with SalesFocus.ai, it's a very powerful tool. It's and it pairs up with SKOOP. So Sales Focus does the automation in AI, and you can do multiple accounts, and can support email, support LinkedIn, can support DMs. InMails. It can support texting. It's a very and it has AI components in it as well. A very powerful search thing and all that stuff. But if you don't add the personalized one, your conversion rate is not as good.
Obviously.
So I use systems. And the system can be manual. You don't have to use, you could heck, you can run it on spreadsheets if you really want, although that would be very painful. I just think that people need to be human, and you use tools that make sense. For example, have a standard CRM. Use the darn thing. And most small businesses, especially solopreneurs, don't have any kind of CRM. So SKOOP will have one built in. It's a very simple one. The thing is, you lose 50 to 70% of your business by not following up properly through conversations and all that stuff. So what people want with automation is they want a quick deal. Well, automation is just the first step to building that relationship. So they're missing majority of the components with automation. They have to have some kind of CRM so they understand when it's appropriate to follow up, what they need to do, look at the notes, how that conversation to provide value to build up that relationship moving forward. There's some people that have these large IT projects that are millions, multi-million dollar projects. They don't happen in 3-4 months. Those are 10 months, 20 months, 30 months, relationship stuff before they get the big deal. So yeah.
Yeah, basically, this is since I'm a Chrome extension developer, right? You know that about me, I guess.
Hmm.
So, and when I built ConnectGenie, my software,
Hmm.
what when I was pitching to a lot of people, they said that can it do it like this, that it can send out the personalized connection request notes that it generates in to multiple people at the same time. I said no. This is not an automation tool. This is just a tool that can help you create content so that you can post it yourself, because I know
Right.
from a personal experience that if you do anything related to automation on LinkedIn, so it can have consequences on your account. So that is something that I kept under consideration by building ConnectGenie. And I've it creates the content for the comment, or it creates the
Yeah.
content for your post, but it does not does any sort of button clicks
Yeah,
or.
sequencing automation. Yeah, Scoop's exactly the same way. It basically sends a link, and the link then actually produces the visual for the video. And so all the fancy technology is really interface, and it doesn't do no
Exactly.
automation.
No
And
automation.
because I don't want to get in any trouble at all. I mean, technically, having an extension is against the TOS. They don't really care about that part. But if you really read the rules, they say you can't use any tool. That means you can't even use copy and paste. I mean,
Mhm.
but they're just being like that because they're protecting their IP, and their job is to slow you down, and not in a mean way, but they want to slow you down so you actually have a conversation. So
Mhm.
automation bypasses those actual conversations, and
Mhm.
that's what they don't like. It's a networking, it's a
Platform.
it's a networking social media platform, and so they want people to actually network and to do it that way. And then automation, of course, bypasses some of that.
Yeah.
Um,
I
yeah.
think people still use a couple of automation or some tools to get their job easier, because obviously everyone is
Hmm.
trying to reach out to as many people as possible. But I would like
Hmm.
to ask you that if someone does use these kind of tools, then how can they balance between the efficiency and the authenticity?
Yeah. So I'll give you an example, and I won't use the word automation, but say you have a sequence of 3 messages, whether you send it in, your VA, or you send it after a certain date, whatever, right? And those are kind of scripted, right? Well, if you want to balance your authenticity with that for the DM, the same example I give is give a personalized welcome message. So that will shine. So even if they don't see that and they get the other one over, they'll see it in the thread, and then you'll have a higher a reply rate
Hmm.
with that. So you can do and then if you don't have time, and then whoever's sending those other messages, like Monday, I had 41 or 42 connections come in on one day. And because Monday over the weekend, I don't check it. And, so I have my systems go out for connection requests, and then other people will reach out to me to connect. So I had quite a bit, for a single day. And I look at that, I'm like, I don't want to send welcome videos to all those people. I have 1 hour. So what I do is I look at it and I say, I want to talk to this person, this person, this person, and this person, and this person. And I just go through the ones I want to talk to. And then the system, or whoever's managing your system, whether they do it manually or whatever, they take care of the rest, you know. And so that's one way you could do that. Another thing is the same thing that I explained with the email. if you're sending email, it doesn't have to be unique every single time. You like for IT projects, my second email is my portfolio. I show them the portfolio. It's a video. I say, hey, we've done this and this. It looks very visual. And then it's a visual image. They click on it and they can see the video, that sort of thing, within the email. And so that is another impactful. So how can you be a little bit different and stand out? So a lot of problem people are kind of really like, I'm boring, but I do cool stuff. But if you're boring, your email shouldn't be boring. Some of it's copywriting, and some of it is adding an element of flavor in there that looks like, I thought about this. I put some effort into it. Some people just have one standard welcome message, which I think is a little lazy, but and they use Scoop for the message and they send it to everyone through their platform or whatever, right? So Scoop works with LinkedIn, works with Instagram, it works with X, it works with Gmail, Microsoft 365, Outlook, all those platforms. It works because video is so powerful. You have to use video so people have a sense that you're not a bot. So it's opposite. It's actually opposite of a lot of the AI stuff on purpose.
Got it. So now there is a lot of information that you've given us, and I think it's a lot of it is practical information that one can apply. I would like to ask you that now let's suppose that someone is not a business but is an individual, but he wants to have these high paying opportunities. He wants to earn these get these high paying opportunities through LinkedIn, and
Mhm.
he has only 30 minutes to invest in a day for LinkedIn platform. So what should they do? Where should they spend their most time to make the maximum impact?
Oh, yeah, that's a good question. Well, it depends on the business, and it depends on, where he doing B2B, is it high value and that sort of thing. Um, he should get a day-to-day process, and part of that process, he should select what's the most important thing. So usually it's communicating, creating a little bit of content, either a few times a week that provides value, and then engaging with that content, spending a little bit of time engaging with other people's content, and then your direct conversations on your DMs. If I could only do 3, I would just do that. I would also suggest that person have a VA, a virtual assistant, because that person can take care of some of the tasks that you don't want to do. For example, my VAs help me structure my content. So I don't have time to write everything, but I tell them what I want to talk about. They'll put it together, and then I will approve it. So I'll make changes to it, or I'll do a video and give it to them, and they'll write content around it, and then I'll approve it. So I'm always reducing my time, and that's pretty important. So how can you reduce your time? Get, I don't know, say 4 hours of work done in 30 minutes. You have a structured process. So I have something called a LinkedIn daily process guide. Matter of fact, I'm giving it away free at my event. I've already had like 10,000 downloads on that. And so the daily process is, I block out that hour or 30 minutes or whatever on my calendar. And then I look at it, what do I do today? And so there could be 10 things, but I'm only doing 1 or 2 of those things. And those are the most important things. So there's so much you can do, but you just have to pick the most important that has the highest impact. And if you do that consistently, you'll reap the rewards in a compound way. If you do it day in, day out with that, it will convert a lot better for you.
Yeah, I think this is the point for our listeners that, if you have heard all of these 3 points that he has given to us, rewind and, take some notes, because these were the most important things that I really wanted, people to know. And like Troy said, if you have a virtual assistant and if you can afford one, do that. If you can't, then you can use tools like ConnectGenie to, help you with your engagement and your post writing. So Troy, I think I would like to switch gears and come towards Scoop over here. That I wanted to know that how did you come up with the idea? What was the inspiration behind it?
Um, I saw a gap in the market.
Mm-hmm.
The DMs, the direct messages, LinkedIn messages,
Mm-hmm.
they stopped converting. So at one time they converted it really well. And then everyone used, like automation, like you said, automation or something, and they were just selling, 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 and they, and it become very saturated. And so there was an opportunity to personalize. And we actually created a server system before that sent videos. It was very similar to like the LinkedIn phone app, and it sent it out, but we could only send baked video. Baked video is like one video for everything through the automation, and it worked a lot better. And then we looked at it for personalization and said, you know what? It would be great to have a tool right on top of your browser that I can do a video, click a button, boom, send it, and also be great to store messages. So 80% of my messages I already know what they're going to be. There's usually contact information, a welcome message. Oh yeah, sure. Here's the event. There's these standardized messages you can start with. So with the click of a button, I have a welcome message set up. I just change a few lines of text to make it original, do a quick video, title the video, and I sandwich that in order to get the best conversion. So we just saw that gap in the market, and that gap was a lack of conversions to vetted book meetings. So SKOOP is a relationship building and sales tool. That's what it is.
So, in terms of development, is it launched yet, or is it in the stealth mode, or what is the status right now, and what are the future plans for it?
Yeah, so we did a soft launch about 4 months ago. We had about 400 users. Well, maybe 5 months ago, about 400 users. We have about 200 concurrent users. We had some larger deals, but we found out very quickly that the marketing end is not is a dirty business sometimes. So we realized the companies who wanted it, they just wanted the source code. So we killed the deal. So we just do it ourselves and find our partners. So now we're finding partners to grow that. So it's been live for about 4 or 5 months. Not a lot of people know about it, but everyone that uses it, really enjoys it. The people who don't like it, they will never do a video. They want to do all automation, type stuff. They don't want to do any work, any actual personalized work. They want the silver bullet. Unfortunately, it doesn't exist. So
Understood. Understood. So,
yeah, a silver bullet. There's not like one technique that will solve, all your problems, unless you have a whole team that does all those solutions for you. And that's, that's one reason we create the 90-day program to build those solutions for you,
right.
And so people want a shortcut. I think there's no shortcut from building relationships, and relationships actually convert into
Convert.
business. Yeah.
Got it. So I think we are nearing the end of our conversation here. So just before we wrap it up, any specific advice that you would like to give to our audience, specifically to LinkedIn or entrepreneurship, or just in life in general?
Yeah. So if you're trying to drive a business on LinkedIn, uh, think about what is valuable to your audience. Create a plan, produce information where it solves their problems or lessens their pain, and then have a human touch on that. Some of my stuff is not all about business. Sometimes it's really about what I'm doing in life. So people want to know that you're human, who's behind the scenes. For example, I'm a family man. I'm a single father. I was in the army. There's certain things I'll just show about what I learned from family and friends, how to separate work from business, and so they want to know that, oh, I could hang out with this person, because if you have a sense of does this person now have the same moral structure as I do, because they don't want to work with someone who's going to screw them over on business or give them bad advice or that sort of thing. They want to know that they're working with someone they can relate to. So be relatable.
All right. That's a wrap for today's episode of Genie Talks. A big thank you to Troy. I really enjoyed the whole discussion, and I think there was a lot of practical advice. And I hope that Troy, you also enjoyed it as well. And if you guys did like this podcast, do like, share, and subscribe. And I will leave Troy's LinkedIn profile in the description of the video. Please do check it out and get inspired from his content. And guys, keep hustling, keep growing. And this is Bilal Asif signing off. I'll see you in the next episode. Thank you.
Thank you.